right? No, I don't. Okay, there we go. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with Omi Homie episode number 93 with my man Crypto Rain, the co-host, about will VeVe's merger affect Omi and market analysis and other stuff and nostalgia, new licenses. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello Dashi. And my man, looking good today.
Yeah.
We've got quite a bit of news here to go over. Before we get to that, it is Happy New Year to everyone. About 13 hours ago was the turn of the new year, year of the horse, which I am. And I'm very happy because it's going to be my year. It means it's going to be a good year. I think it's a good omen. Rain, what year are you in the Chinese zodiac?
I'm a dragon.
Oh, nice. So it was your year 2 years ago. Good stuff. We are in. I guess 2 years ago. What were we at? 24. Not a bad year for some peeps. What up, Croner? How's it going? Alan saying, "What's up, fellas? Always look forward to Tuesdays because of you guys. Why, thank you. We look forward to us as well. Even though we talk during the week, this is a chance that we get to see each other's faces. Although my internet's a little down, so I see Rain's face, but he's frozen for me. But everyone else, according to YouTube, you're good. Rain, this happened, I think, last Wednesday. Yeah, Orange Cloud Technology plans reverse merger with VeVe. Have you looked into it? What do you think of it? What was your take? Were you surprised? Were you shocked Pikachu face? Did you think that something like this would happen eventually anyway because VeVe's so massive and amazing that they would have gone on NASDAQ at some point anyway? What's your take on it?
I didn't really see this coming. The getting there, it really just helps for credibility. I do think privately owned companies are better run than publicly owned companies, but David should have the majority of shares, so he still really gets to make the decisions. And so that's what I like about VeVe, but it does give them some credibility that they can say that they're on the NASDAQ. And that just helps with partnerships, I'm sure, and in IP, because it's a credibility statement. And they have lots of credibility, but it is just a further credibility statement.
Yeah. This one is, I think this gets to be a little, I mean, everything that we've wanted to know about the company, from what's on their balance sheet, from how much they've kept from the 2021, 2022 days, because they made hundreds of millions of dollars and were likely worth billions. But it's like, okay, what did you do with those funds? How hard is it to set up this type of machine that you've done? How much is it for each license? Can we get a closer look at the contracts? What's in the war chest? And what are you going to do with the funds moving forward? And then also, what are they going to be valued at? What do they value themselves at in the merger? And then what does the free market likely gonna think of it? And I mean, we're so in all of that, what do you think a TradFi investor would look for in VeVe when deciding to try to buy shares or not?
They still have to have some vision because the narrative isn't here. And a lot of people don't understand this narrative till after they see massive green candles and they dig into the research. So I don't think it'll be valued really high because it takes a lot of explaining in this market what it is they do and why it's a big deal. And then if they look at crypto, they're like, oh, crypto's down, so therefore I have all the time in the world to think about this. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come out like out of the gate for hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in its valuation. I just keep those expectations low just because the narrative isn't here. I think VeVe's going to be the leader in digital collectibles in the future. And I think that's going to be a really big narrative. It's just pretty early for a lot of people to understand that.
Agreed. I get, so I do want to take a look at CollectChain and the article and all that. We'll get to that in a minute. We have 14 FU F98 saying this will make Omi hit all-time highs. So one of the first things I asked David in his first interview ever with me back in 2021 was what else is on your balance sheet? Like, obviously they have Omi, and he said, well, we have a little bit of Go token because at the time Omi was on GoChain. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I think he had some ETH. I don't know if they have any Bitcoin or anything, but similar to like Stake and Shake and a bunch of other publicly traded companies that they have a Bitcoin reserve. Will the new Orange Cloud VeVe merger company obviously they're going to have Omi. Will they have Bitcoin? Will they have ETH? Is Omi enough? Either way, they're going to have Omi on the balance sheet. So they'll have the Omi treasury or an Omi reserve. What do you think that does for the legitimacy of the token? What do you think that does for just crypto in general, just to have a company listed on the NASDAQ hold Omi? Do you think that alone can give us some green candles, or will they need to actually perform?
I don't think that'll do very much. It really is just about the narrative hitting. So if you think back to 3 years ago, and a lot of times it's crypto, especially when we're newer, we think about, well, if VeVe does this, then everyone will see, and Omi will go crazy. And if VeVe does this, then everyone will see and Omi will go crazy. And the truth is, like, VeVe's hit all the things that they were promising 3 and 4 years ago. Like, they've done all that and more now. And yet VeVe's, the Omi token is as cheap as it's been this whole bear market, right? It's absolutely disastrously low, which is a good thing for people that like to buy low and sell high. And it's just because the narrative hasn't hit of like the bigger narrative of crypto, and then rolling into altcoins where people start paying attention. So it's kind of like you could have the best pitch message in the world. If you're on a channel when nobody's watching it, it doesn't matter. Yet, then all of a sudden you get millions of people watching that, and then it goes crazy. And so that's what we're waiting for, is like that's going to happen down the road here a little bit. Now, stocks have been going gangbusters. Gold and silver went gangbusters, and crypto's been down, which what's funny enough is in that environment, you get a lot of people that leave crypto like, I'm so sick of this, because they want to be where the action is. And they don't realize positioning yourself where the action isn't is the place to be. And so the last thing you want to do is exit when the action isn't there, because it's going to rotate into you. But they haven't learned that lesson. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are going to have to learn that lesson from the sidelines, or they won't learn it at all because they stop paying attention. And so then they don't even get the benefit of the lesson. They just think, crypto sucks and I'm unlucky. And it's like, no, your timing's just bad. You're not unlucky. It's just you're letting your emotions take control of your investment decisions. And that goes bad when people do that. Why? Because when are we most down? When prices are really low. Like, I can show you charts, and we can look at the charts, and anytime any great project was at lows, well, what do you think the sentiment was back then? It was devastatingly bad, and the company's never going to survive. And then things reversed and the price went really, really high. But when it was low, there was way more people selling than buying. And you're like, why would they sell at those low prices? Because that's what new people do. They don't understand that's the buy zone. They sell when things get low because they just can't take it anymore. And then everything goes crazy. For example, when I was newer in crypto, I was watching this guy's video in 2018, and he was showing the history of Tron. And he had held Tron for 2 years. And 2 months before Tron went crazy, he sold. And he's like, well, it just felt like it was never going to happen, and nothing was happening there. And there was all these other things that were moving. What he's really saying is, I got tired of being where the action wasn't, even though I believed in Tron. And he sold Tron at lows to buy things that had already gone 5 or 10 or 15x. He missed most of all the run there. And then Tron ran on him, right? It went up. Tron ended up doing like 80 to 100x. And he missed all of that because he just couldn't take being where the action isn't yet happening.
There is a couple of things that I'll correct people on when we talk like in real life or wherever. But one major thing is that some people, they only see things at a surface level, where they're like, hey, listen, you know what, Randy, I know you know Omi's down, but you have so much conviction that's why I buy and hold to. And it's like, well, okay, I understand that, but you could have conviction in like the wrong thing. Like conviction doesn't matter if you're backing a horse that, you know, it's just like a gimp horse and they're not going to run. Sometimes I think a lot of times people fall in love with projects and or investments, and they might know more about that investment than 99% of other people, even people that are in that particular investment. But I think sometimes they get emotionally attached, and a lot of times you have people that exit out for good reason. But then there are, you know, that minority of times, and it might not be minority. I don't know the exact scenarios, but you could have bought Tesla in 2013, held for 4 years, and then sold in 2017, and but it's not going to do anything. And you would have been right for two more years. You would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, see, I sold 2017. It's late 2018, so it hasn't done anything. And then in 2019 it starts to run. And then obviously in 2020, 2021, it goes crazy. So I've had people that have told me, it's like, hey, listen, you know, I know you really love Omi and stuff, you love you, but I don't think it's going to do anything. And they sold in 2024, 2025, and they've been right for, you know, 1 to 2 years, because it hasn't done, the token hasn't done much. But it's like, okay, what is the underlying company doing? In the 2010s, Tesla was just selling everything it made, and we make money. Same thing with VeVe. They have multiple drops every week, and they make money constantly with it. So as long as the thesis of the company stays the same, your people are going to be right until they're wrong, as far as them selling. And a lot of us are going to be wrong until we're right. Like I was talking to a buddy this morning saying, like, hey, you know, every year you should decide, like, hey, what has worked this year and what hasn't. And I think especially if you're in long-term investing, you can't really look at things every year, because some companies take years to just go out of business, but some of them take years just to get their footing. And I feel like if you just take that just binary, like myopic look of, yeah, it hasn't worked this year, let's get out. That's not bad to do if you're talking about diet, talking about exercise, talking about things where you can see changes and the results of those changes fairly quickly. But if you're in something that is, again, the narrative is just taken, you know, like half a decade at this point to get back in. I still believe, and I know you, Rain, do too, I'm pretty sure Dr. Stuff does, that the time for these types of investments will come. And again, they've been doing everything right. It's just not their time yet. And their time could be next month, right? Their time could be in a couple of weeks. Most likely, it'll probably have to be when the overall market comes back. But that's just kind of what I want to talk when we're talking about conviction and stuff.
Yeah, conviction is, well, so I like to think of it as research, right? So conviction based off of, a lot of times conviction happens based on hype. And that I don't think is a good metric to look at. It's not, sure, meme coins basically run on hype. And I know some people that trade meme coins successfully, but most of them trade meme coins successfully because they're in the private groups of people who have large followings that kind of create the run and then sell into the run.
Yeah.
Which isn't a type of investing that's interesting to me at all. I like early stage business investment in businesses that are doing something that I think is functionally useful for the world, that reduces costs or reduces transaction costs or brings something novel to the world, like digital collectibles, like Disney and Marvel collectibles on an online format. So I like those type of companies where I think there's value there. And it takes research to identify, okay, what are the strengths and the weaknesses of this project? Who's the team behind it? What chance do they have of surviving? And then you're taking bets. Essentially, you're placing bets, because early stage business investing, like normally 1 out of 10 will end up doing really, really good. 2 might make you some money, and then 7 fail. And that's just early stage business investment as a venture capitalist. In crypto, the numbers are a little bit better because usually they don't need to survive like for 10 years to really succeed. They just need to survive until the next bull market. And so it gives you a window that's a little bit better where the numbers look better. And so even if some fail, your winners end up doing so good within that window of times, which normally was 4 years. It seems like this cycle is going to be at least 5 years. Then the amount of money that you can make is tremendous. Now, a lot of people are washing out because crypto has come back after Bitcoin ran up to 125,000 or so. And it's come back down to 60,000, and people are just scared. ETH is down. In fact, most of the altcoins are back down to punishingly low levels of the bear market. And people are just scared it's never going to get better than this. And because the 4-year cycle didn't happen, there's not going to be a cycle anymore. And that just comes from being new to cycle investing. They don't realize, yeah, sometimes the cycles don't happen symmetrically, and that's okay. But the question is, does crypto have fundamental value for the future of technology? And it's like, yes, some of them. Crypto projects that actually add some actually significant value to the internet and decentralized finance or other things, of course they have value there. So when is it going to run, they think? And it's like, well, we're really just waiting for monetary supply, global M1 monetary supply, to go up tremendously. And that will happen as interest rates come down and the Federal Reserve of the US does a lot more quantitative easing. And that's coming soon enough. So there's a lot of reason to believe, just looking at money supply growth and potential money supply growth, that later 2026 is going to be absolutely amazing for risk on assets like crypto. Yet, if you look at the crypto prices, and that's the only thing you're looking at, emotionally, you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's never going to happen. But do you realize if you look back in history, OMI went from near its bear market lows to its bull market highs of March of 2021 in a matter of about 6 weeks. So it went from feeling like this is never going to happen to 6 weeks later, it was several thousand X up. Oh, okay. Most people don't know that because they haven't gone through a bear market, like a full bear market, waiting for the bull market and then seeing what really happens. So at this point, a lot of people are capitulating again, like a lot of people that held in all the way to now that didn't give up or just throwing in the towel. And that's just part of the process. There's a reason why only 5% of people in the crypto space make life-changing wealth. And it's because they just can't buy low, sell high. Yeah. They buy low, but then when it goes lower, they end up capitulating out and they don't get to experience the run up.
Agreed. I think what we take a look at how many users we have, and they'll be on average 700 to 1,100 users per day. Yeah, on average, maybe let's say like 900 to 1,000. And every time there's like an announcement, you get a little bit of bump of old people coming back and newer people coming in. You had this past week for VeVe 1,673 new users between the dates of February 3rd and February 12th when we had that announcement. Now, how many of it was that? They all came from wallets that had no collectibles to wallets that had now one or more collectibles. Was that from new people coming in, or was that from older people that heard the news of the reverse merger? Potentially, it's just an LOI that was signed. It's not official yet. How much of it was them coming back? I've seen a lot of other people. They tag me and stuff. They send me stuff on X where they tag other people in it, and they say, I haven't signed into VeVe in forever. Let me sign into that again. And some of those people might have had nothing in their wallets. And either way, I take a look at VeVe, and it's not a lot of users. Like it's obviously enough to be a successful company. It's enough to keep it running. It's enough, but I don't think it's that hard to double to get to 2,000 users. And you've already seen some of the S tier comics, like Tales of Suspense number 39. You've seen some of the like X Factor number 6. You've seen like a lot of those floors rise. AF15, that floor of the common is constantly over $100, $130, $140, what it is now. And that's just with the existing users, because there's just a limited supply. That's just them buying more every other paycheck, every other month, like however long, like that, and that supply will continue to dwindle. It's like all of the same people that were in Pokemon, like yes, you get a lot of new people that join every year. Most of them are kids that have no money. Why is Pokemon so, like, why did we have a $14 million sale of a card 2 nights ago? Probably because the kids that liked it when they were younger grew up, and they, now they have like this big boy money. I think that even with the same amount of people, you're going to continue to see some of the floor prices of the comics or grails or whatever you have, those will continue to rise. But then you double it. Yeah, 16.5 million. I thought it was 40. Yeah, it's a crazy number. If you double the users and you take us to 2,000 and you just have a ton of fresh money coming in, what does that do to the floor prices of the things that everyone can say, like, yeah, Superman's a good bet. Todd McFarlane, Batman's a good bet. Okay. Excuse me.
That's contagious.
All of that is, one, you're going to have those floor prices in general rise, and people will be buying the OMI token, because that's the only way you could buy the cheapest version of those on Stacker is through the OMI token. So they'll buy it from that. And then you're going to have some people, like, if anyone's ever seen, is it Daddy's Home? The one with Will Ferrell and yeah, it's Daddy's Home. Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg. Will Ferrell has testosterone's got a low sperm count. As soon as Mark Wahlberg kind of moves in or moves next door, and suddenly they're competing, it raises his libido, raises his sperm count. I think as people say, like, well, I can afford to put this much in, comfortably, every other week. But then as soon as those floor prices start rising, and you have that fear of missing out, like, oh, I got to start performing better. I got to start making these things. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that they'll find the money and they'll put more money in, because as you see other newer people coming in, throwing around a couple grand a week or even 10 grand a week. Like, somebody bought the 1978 Boba Fett ultra rare for 69 million OMI before. That happened today. That made me go buy stuff. And maybe that's not like, see, Chavez, you're really influenced easily by things. Maybe I am. How many other people do I represent here? Probably a bunch. I don't know. Rain, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, so FOMO is real, and that's the reason why people like to buy where the action is, because like the fear of missing out drives us more than any other factor. So that's why markets, when they pump so much, and that's why there's so much opportunity here. But what I'm trying to help people do is rewire what their natural instincts are, so they can learn to buy low and sell high, which all of us theoretically get: buy low, sell high, in order to make money in investing. But if that's the case, why do 95% of people make no money or lose a bunch of money in crypto, and in fact in real estate and other investment markets, when doing it for investing? Well, because they buy high and they FOMO in, and then they sell when the market reverses hard on them. So instead of doing the opposite of buying when everyone is selling and sell when everyone is buying, they literally just fall into doing what everyone else is doing. Why? Because it's hard to rewire yourself to buy when everyone is selling, because we like to do what it feels like everyone else is doing. So if we get excited about VeVe and we're like, oh, this is a big deal, and you go talk to 100 friends and they're like, nothing, I don't care, they almost get demotivated themselves, like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm in the wrong place, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, that's what good deals often look like. They just haven't rewired themselves to be able to disregard what the 95% of people think and say, and being able to judge for yourself, is this a smart play? Over what timeline do I hope that this works out? Okay, what happens if it goes longer than that timeline? What kind of runway as a business does this business have, so that they don't run out of money and close up shop and go out of business? Well, either they don't know how to assess those things, or they aren't taking the time to do it, and they're just reacting based on emotions. And look, investing is a logical space. And, Warren Buffett says, Investing is the mechanism from which money flows from the impatient to the patient. That's exactly what's happening here.
Agreed. I sometimes I've been patient with holding my crypto and DCAing, but I'm impatient with a couple of things. Movies that I want to see them come out. I want to see Send Help. That looks great. And then also just what's going to happen in finance. And there's like, okay, you do these things. What are the consequences of these things? And consequences could be good too. Like, for example, to mention Pikachu again, Pikachu Illustrator. Ken Golden was on the Logan Paul stream. It was like 45,000 people there watching. It was a golden auction stream, sold for 16.5 million. What happens when you get a couple of these epic sets of like Luke Skywalker, number 44 set, or you have like a Golden Moments super set where they're all matching, or Miles Morales, like all of these things. What happens when you have some of these on golden auctions, which I think will happen once they're interoperable, hopefully this summer. And also we have people like Rob Layfield, who's the creator of Deadpool. He's been going on Instagram a lot recently, reacting to some people reacting to his Deadpool trailers and stuff. And what is that? It is a VeVe shirt. And he's done this on multiple videos now. So
cool.
I know, right? I think that you have these interesting things that'll happen once a bunch of eyes get on VeVe and Omi, and I think that has a very positive effect on Omi as well. I mean, it's like when you work out, it's like, okay, obviously working out, resting, but you have to eat well, and then you have like, fish oil, these vitamins, pre-workout, you have whatever, and everything's supposed to help like a little bit. And I think all of these things that VeVe is doing is going to help out a little bit, and then eventually towards the end of the year, and maybe even sooner than that, we have a big glow. I remember when Blackpink was announced, a lot of people were speculating, like, is this what it takes to kick off the NFT market? It wasn't, but multiple people were speculating that, and it wasn't just inside the VeVe community. I think Wendy Crypto, forget her name. Her daughter she knew of VeVe. Her daughter loves Blackpink, and she's like, yeah, maybe this does it. It didn't do it, but again, people were speculating on it. Like something's gonna pop off this NFT market. Obviously, ETH should have to go up first, but maybe it doesn't. NFTs have kind of been hot recently. Gary Vee's been really pumping his V friends. You have that guy Adam Weitzman, he'll be on the podcast soon, spending $500,000 in Moonbirds, buying Regenerates, like buying all of these different things, and it's just something's got to give at some point, and we don't know what that spark is. Maybe it's Ren and Stimpy. Probably not, but who knows? Did you watch Ren and Stimpy when you were younger?
It wasn't that interesting to me. It wasn't my type of show.
Yeah. This is just, we have TMNT, we have this now for Ren and Stimpy. At some point, if they go further in the timeline, okay, Turtles in the 80s, Ren and Stimpy 1991, maybe Rugrats 1991. Do they eventually get to Hey Arnold and Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron and SpongeBob and Avatar? Do they get Nickelodeon's a huge freaking franchise. Apparently, it looks like we have them all now. I'm just very curious to see like how many of these people brings in, because that's like my age range, like in the elder millennials now. That grew up with that, and I'm ready to spend. Yeah. Part whale, part corporation. Yeah, that's true. We have a lot of those. In this next couple of months here, Omi is not the only one in the news lately. Like Fias is up like double since last week. Devi's had a crazy. It was up like 60% at one point today. Now it's only up 20%. But these are how these crypto things go. Like you were saying before, what was the timeline last time when Omi went from like quad zeros to like 1 cent? You said it was like 6 weeks?
Yeah, 6 weeks.
Jeez. Have you seen other examples of like that recently? Obviously, in the last bull market in 2021, yeah, you probably saw it all the time. But have you seen that anytime since then over the last couple of years?
Well, that's generally how fast things move from like, usually they kind of pick up some steam first and then they go crazy, but the blow off top usually happens in about 6 weeks period, always. So look at how long it took for Sandbox to go Parabolic and Decentraland token and DeFi, particularly if you look at DeFi Summer in 2022. I forget what Aave was called before they rebranded, so you're not able to see the full history, but the token used to be something else like ETH Lend or something before it rebranded to Aave, and it was literally trading at a quarter, like 25 cents. And then, during DeFi Summer, it literally went 1,000, 2,000x in a matter of about 6 weeks. So things go parabolic when they move. These altcoins, they move really fast. So like 2018, 2019, 2020, I had this brilliant strategy that I'd roll half of my money into Bitcoin, and the other stuff I'd put in the alts that I was really interested in. And then when Bitcoin went up higher, I'd roll it into the alts. And it was an okay plan. The challenge is like, it's hard to know when to roll that money from Bitcoin into the alts. And when the alts, if you end up being just a little bit late on the alts, all the extra gains you got by being in Bitcoin first evaporate because the alts then move so fast. So you'll wake up and you'll see something you have been following all of a sudden go 10x before you even realized it. And then if you're trying to jump in there, boy, missing that first 10x is a big deal. So I just found that, like, I just like to dollar cost average in the projects that I believe in and buy them when they're cheap, and then just patiently wait till they go crazy instead of trying to play the roll game. Because when you're rolling too, that depending on what tax jurisdiction you're in, could mean the difference between long-term capital gains at 15 or 20% versus short-term capital gains where you might pay 50 or 55% taxes on your gains. And so when you're just taking a slower approach of rolling in the stuff you really want to hold in the altcoins, then you're generally going to fall more in long-term capital gains. And look, whatever jurisdiction you're in, if your long-term capital gains is 15 or 20% or less, that's a fair tax in my assessment. That's not bad at all. And governments have to fund themselves. And then I don't feel like I don't like somebody having to give up 50% plus of their gains. So it's just a better overall strategy that's simpler and less complex. Now, a lot of people argue that with me. They're like, oh my gosh, they'll take a snapshot right now. If I had bought Bitcoin and then I had sold it when it hit 120 and then I kept it in stable coins and then I was buying the altcoins now, it would be a better solution. It's like, yeah, that would work great if you had a magic crystal ball and you knew that Bitcoin would go up to like 125,000 and then it would pull back to 60,000. And if you have a magic crystal ball, you don't need to be listening to this channel. You have a magic crystal ball. You can see exactly what's going to happen. So you should be worth about $100 billion by the time this bull market is over. But if you're just a normal human being, you just have to play good odds. And what a lot of people get wrong is even when you're playing good odds, you don't always win. So when, that movie about the Harvard people that were like math students that went out and they started playing at the casino, like what a lot of people don't realize is that they lost tons of hands. Just on average, they won. And when they won bigger than what they lost. And so that's what we're doing in the crypto sphere, is that you're putting bets on multiple different research projects, and some of them are going to fail on you. But the ones that don't, and when the timing goes right, they make so much that it erases the losses that you made.
There's what you're talking about doing a good thing and talking about counting. You could make a mathematically the right bet, like, oh yeah, there's a 80% chance the guy busts here, the dealer busts, and you decide to stay on 12, and then he's got a 6, but he flips over a 5, and then something else comes out, like an 8 comes out, and it's like, oh okay, now he wins. And you would like you could make mathematically the right call, and it could still be wrong. You'd still get screwed. Jason, like, you know, if I had that, so I had the entire set of the Mario Pikachu PSA 10. I had the two, the normal hollows, and then the two full arts, all PSA 10. And I bought them super cheap, sold them, I think, where they were. I think it might have been 10 grand when I sold it. Again, all of them. Now, like I said, the 21K, I think, just probably for that one. If I had that, yeah, I'd probably sell, and I would put most of that into crypto. I wouldn't do it all in one shot, although, you know, maybe. But be advised, I would do that knowing that if I put it into anything that I'm in, like let's just say OMI here, that anything can happen, and it doesn't have to be OMI. It could be Definity, DevVe, pick your token. For whatever reason, nothing could fundamentally change about the company, but just some big whale gets liquidated elsewhere. He decides to yeet, you know, 30K worth or 80K or 100K, depending on how big the market cap is. Other people could follow him, and for no reason at all, could be down 30% in a day, or 50% in a week, or 80% in 2 weeks. So I would do that knowing that. Just be advised, if you do that and you put it into crypto, like, it's very volatile. Like it's very, very volatile. So you have to make that decision of yourself. Like, what, you know, is that going to be are you okay with how volatile it can be? Yeah, the movie 21 was good. What Mama says, it'll be a while to see VeVe digital collectibles sold in golden, just a matter of time. Panini blockchain sold to Steph Curry 1 of 1 for 73K. Jeez. Rain, so you've had more, so I think, from NFL all day. What is Flow blockchain up to now? What are they doing over there?
I haven't followed closely what they're doing. They had a hack which decimated their token price temporarily, right? So I don't think that it's fully recovered, but like they have NFL all day. It seems like UFC Strike left Flow blockchain for another blockchain. I'm not quite sure what that was about. But NBA Top Shots and NFL all day are still on Flow. Flow's pretty low cost and inexpensive, and it's been really easy to use. So I like them. They're a good competitor to VeVe, and they compete like in a complementary thing rather than a direct competitor. Like they do sports moments. So like there's sports cards, and sports cards have like a picture of like Jose Canseco hitting it, or Michael Jordan perhaps dribbling, or the ones that tend to do better are Michael Jordan doing a dunk. But what's cool about NBA Top Shots is like it's an actual moment, usually them dunking it or some awesome block shot or something. So it has a whole video clip, not just a still picture. And it's more interactive that way. I think it's amazing what they've done. UFC Strike, which was on Flow, it's moved off to something else. Really good, because in the fight, like usually there's a moment within the fight that's the most legendary, and UFC Strike really captures that. And NFL all day, like the truth is there's a lot of stuff in football where nothing is happening, and then sudden moments where all the action happens. So sports moments are where it's at for sports collectibles. Yet most of the world isn't aware of these yet, and they're not on board. And that's where the money is positioning yourself where all this huge interest is going to be down the road before it's all there. And sometimes when everyone's not there yet, people second guess. They're like, oh, it's never going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. Maybe you're new enough, you haven't learned to see patterns in the way they break. But collectibles are going digital, not just with VeVe, but with sports collectibles, sports moments as well. Like this is going to happen, and most people are going to miss out on it. That's okay. They didn't hear about it. You're here. Now, you're probably not missing out on it because you're here. But if you're here and you do miss out on it, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, all right, like sometimes when I worked with investors in real estate, and I would call them about a really good deal, and I'd be like, oh, I have this 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. This builder is just discounted by 20% just to get off its books. It's an amazing deal. You know, it's going to sell in 4 hours. They're like, all right, let me think about it. 3 days later, they're like, yeah, I want to buy that house. What house? Well, the one that you said was a good deal. You mean the one that I said that would go right away? Yeah, that one. Well, it went right away. Oh, well, tell me when the next one is. So now in real estate, that was like, you know, there were good deals out there and there was another deal that would pop up. But sometimes in blockchain investing, they literally have to miss the whole cycle to really get it. So they have to have the opportunity to be like, oh, and they hear Rain and they're like, oh, Rain is just endlessly bullish. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Come on, this is my second cycle that I'm prepared for. The first one, you could have made that case and been like, yeah. But this one, look, yeah, we'll see how this breaks. It's going to break massively to the upside. It's probably going to happen this year. And when it does, massive fortunes are going to be made. And it's okay if you miss it. I don't have a vested interest. Doesn't matter to me personally if you miss it. I'm not here to get everyone to understand this and to jump in. I'm here to explain to you what's going to happen. And whether you participate or not, my hope is you learn and you grow from this. And that's my goal, is to help people become better investors. And sometimes you learn the hardest lessons when you miss out completely. And I know there's some of you out there like that. And it's like, all right, it just is what it is. You know, a lot of you are invested in this too, just like I am. I'm fully deployed into crypto right now. And it seems like, oh my gosh, it's never going to happen. Well, that's what it seemed like in 2019 and 2020 as well. And then it did.
There's I put the YouTube thing up. There's according to Twitter, YouTube is down worldwide. So if you are not seeing us, and maybe that has something to do with my stuff. According to Watcher Guru, though, YouTube is down worldwide. So if you're here, hooray! Do not click away, because you might not get back to us. In other news, I would say that there's a bunch of people now. Whatman was saying, putting blockchain just like actual cards, but on the blockchain. I have a Drake May downtown, both digital and physical. Yeah, digital is. You can never take away that first bit. Like if let's say you have someone like, what if I'm trying to be pragmatic about VeVe? Like, okay, what's to stop like a Amazon, Apple, Tesla, like whoever to make their own blockchain and or not even make their own blockchain, make their own platform and then go in and get all these licenses. Well, nothing's stopping them. It's like, well, why aren't they doing it? I think it's because they know that, one, this is a hard business to get into. Amazon tried NFTs, like a bunch of people tried, and there's a bunch of failures out there. So clearly people understand that it's very hard to do. But also, even if you could throw $100 million at it, getting all of these licenses and trying to get an audience and getting these influencers, one, how much money can you actually make with it? Two, you already have all of the first appearances on VeVe, which to collectors, like any collector worth their salt is going to tell you first appearance matters. Now, how much is it going to matter? I mean, if you could just like a random artwork of something that's not a first appearance, like, well, I like this artwork a lot better, and I don't care that artwork is technically first appearance. It's ugly. Cool. Yeah, that happens all the time. Strange Tales 110, first appearance Doctor Strange. People don't like the cover of the common. They say it's ugly. Cool. Still first appearance Doctor Strange. But also, you can never recreate the first appearance. Like you could have Batman, like DC gave its license everywhere. But you only have one first appearance Batman on the blockchain. And you have that with our hundreds of licenses. So even if anyone wanted to go in and try to do what VeVe's doing in a better way, they just don't have that. They're not going to have that option of recreating the first appearance. It could be first appearance on their platform, but that is very risky to try to put all your chips on that. And then again, you have to compete with VeVe that knows what the heck they're doing right now. Penguin Colada says, Randy, still bullish on Debbie and Fiat?
Yes.
Hell yeah. Same.
Yeah, if you missed some of my talks where I was talking about them, and if you're in our private Discord, I talked about it at length this last Friday, and just my thoughts. And so sometimes companies need to go through downsizing to make themselves leaner to survive hard times like this, right? And so, do you love seeing this kind of thing happen? No. I think what Tom is working on the AI direction with Fias is brilliant. It's an avenue too that I think they can raise a lot of capital through Will's connections. So I think that's great. I think they've had a right sizing and offloading a lot of weight so that they can extend the runway, so they hopefully don't crash in the jungle before running out of runway. And when the market turns around, I think the AI narrative working with their blockchain, which is the fastest blockchain out there, I think it's a good combination of things. So, yeah, I mean, I don't love that Austin's not there anymore, but Austin was probably drawing a salary. Austin's amazing. I would prefer to see them make the cuts necessary to extend their timeline tremendously, rather than just run out of runway, crash in the jungle, and then be like, oh, sorry, guys, we tried. And it's like, why didn't you make the right cuts early enough to extend that runway? So they're making responsible decisions. I wouldn't have guessed that the bear market would have lasted this long before crypto goes crazy. Generally it's been every 4 years. Well, this is extended by that. We're on year 5 and it hasn't happened yet. So it's like, sure, even if it happens mid this year, that's a year behind normal. Well, shoot, a lot of projects didn't plan on that kind of situation. So they're probably tight on money, like every company in the space, except for a few are tight on money, and they're just trying to survive.
Agreed. Shout out to Turtle Golf saying, great show. VeVe keeps building. Excited that they will be publicly traded soon. Think they have pipe investors lined up. I don't know. I'll say this, that from my work with Earth 2, that was never nearly as big as VeVe. They got a bunch of offers, both private, just to be like, hey, can I invest in your company? And then a bunch of offers to take them public. And if you have a bunch of, if they got some with, and they were relatively unknown, VeVe with all their licenses, to get a private investment in public equity, I would bet dollars to donuts. I would bet a lot that they would have gotten offers. Whether they took those offers or they said to wait, for this or not, I don't know. Rain, what do you think of the odds are that they have a bunch of investors lined up, ready to go?
I don't know what the acronym PIPE stands for. PIPE investors lined up.
Private investment, public equity.
I have no idea. I don't know much on them going public and what are the reasons behind that, other than it just seems like it is more credibility when they go trying to get licenses and saying we're publicly traded on the NASDAQ. And that why? I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know the valuation is going to go crazy in this environment, but they're reverse merging into it. So I don't think the valuation is tremendously important to them right now. Not like they're doing an IPO and they need that valuation to be as high as possible because they're exiting a whole bunch of their equity.
Yeah. I mean, if I know David, like, he's probably gonna want it super low so he could buy like cheap himself. Because again, it's just Orbis that's being absorbed, and David's got how many other companies? Now, none of them are public, but they're all still, from what I understand, like they're all still running, they're all still generating revenue. So he's got money coming in from those companies that I don't know. Maybe at some point, like Elon wants to have X just be like, absorb all of his companies. They're doing that with XAI and Starlink now. Maybe at some point David goes in and he takes the funds from his other companies to buy more VeVe stuff, and they could put it on their balance sheet or on their asset list. But David owns those assets. So I'm very curious to see how he as a businessman would want to do this. but yeah, if they were able to sell some of their stuff to private investors, you know, what could they do with those funds? And if you get a bunch of people trying to buy, like I assume some of the shareholders are gonna, they've been waiting for years. I'm sure some of them will sell. Although if they didn't raise money in 2021 when this was worth like billions, I don't know if they're going to want to sell now. So it's possible you have a very limited supply. You have a bunch of people that are going to want to come in, and David probably wouldn't have wanted to sell the last few years at these levels. It might create a squeeze. I mean, at some point, they are going to have to deliver because VeVe's, they make money. Are they? How much are they actually netting? How much run rate do they have? What are their projected revenues over the next few years? How many quarters is the market going to give them to hit those projections before it like tanks the price? Do people care? Will people go in? Because again, it's a relatively smaller company. Are people not going to care? And they're just like, I can see where the future's going. I can see all these patterns, and I want to buy in right now and get 8% of the company at a $20 million valuation or $100 million valuation. We're going into the big leagues where you can't get a seat at some of these tables to go into something unless you have like $1 billion, or 10 billion assets under management. BlackRock has like what, 10 trillion, 12 trillion in assets under management. You could have one of these companies be, and I'm curious to see how David handles it. Like, if somebody gets 10% of the company, they have a board seat, or how much do you need to get a board seat? And what are can they try to get the rest of the board to try to do like a hostile takeover? How do you defend against that? We need him on the podcast. Maybe for number 100 we can get him on. Or we'll get Foster. I don't know.
It is amazing what VeVe has accomplished, and it's just digital collectibles haven't caught on yet, and you're just waiting for that moment. And one of the things investors really struggle with is patience. Now, I don't know if this is an urban myth or if this is true, but supposedly Fidelity or some company like that was doing, they wanted to determine who their very best traders were, and so they're investigating their very best traders who made the most returns over time. They found that their dead investors outperformed everyone else because they weren't trading out of stuff. They were just leaving it. And because when you're actively trading, you're often selling what's low to buy what's high. And that's what people do all the time. Like VeVe is doing incredible things. So their token associated with them is at devastatingly low prices. And yet people are selling in this environment rather than loading the boats. And they're not loading the boats because they're like, oh my gosh, it might not succeed. And it's like, well, they got plenty of revenue. And why won't they succeed? And it's like, because they haven't been. The token just keeps going down. It's like, that's not a real argument. The real argument is like, is digital collectibles going to be a narrative in the future? Because if it is, well, then will VeVe survive until that time? Okay, they have plenty of cash flow coming in, or revenues, at least at a minimum revenues, maybe cash flow. Why wouldn't they survive? If they run tight, they can sell some equity and get some money. So they have avenues to raise funds. And so, yeah, it seems like they're going to survive, and they're in position to be the #1 digital collectibles app. And so that's a really good recipe. But people who are new at this, they just can't see what a good deal looks like until they've missed out on it big. And then their mind expands and they're like, a good deal looks and feels a lot like poop does, that like, oh, nobody wants to touch it, run away. When like you're buying incredibly low and nobody wants to touch it at that price. And yet it's when the price is really low. And if you're trying to make money, buy low, sell high, but they can't. So So right, like one of our rainmakers, he's a fireman in real life, and he uses the image of a fireman. It's Abe, and a lot of what we do is like running into burning buildings, and when the fire is put out and they reconstruct the building, the value is tons higher. Well, right now, crypto just feels like a burning building, and so people would rather flee than look at the value behind it and then participate in that, and then get the upside that then follows.
There's it's a lot easier said than done. Because again, I get FOMO all the time. Are you disciplined enough? And it's hard. Not a lot of people are. It's like everyone knows how to get in shape. You okay? You good?
Yeah, this same allergies, attacking us.
Oh, no, rough times. But yeah, like people know how to get in shape. It's like, okay, you do cardio, you walk, you do climb hills, maybe run, lift weights, you eat right, eat a lot of vegetables, lean meats, and why doesn't everyone have a 6-pack or an 8-pack? Why doesn't everyone have big arms? Like, because it's nice to sit around and watch a movie and eat pizza and wings and drink beer, and it feels good. But just because it feels, a lot of times stuff that feels good isn't actually good for you. Sometimes it is, but yeah, it might feel good to be where everyone is, but that's
you're right about the discipline. I find we get in life what we really, really want. And some people just really, really want to come home after they work and veg and not do much. Some people really, really want to be rich, and they'll work and they'll learn and they'll grow themselves so that they can take good investments. They'll do that. Some people want to be fit, and they will spend the time to go through and get the discipline necessary in order to be fit. Some people really want, like, we get in life what we most want. And sometimes, we most want to be complacent. And that's okay, because you're going to get the results that come with that. We want to be complacent and we want to be rich. It's like, they don't really go hand in hand. What I do like about the investing strategy, because I like simple. So like I've tried day trading and doing that, and it's like the numbers of people who are successful at day trading is even lower than the type of investing that I do. But number two, the amount of adrenaline and like you have to be by your computer all the time, like that was too complicated. I found this simplicity thing where I literally just research for the companies that I like, and when the price is really low, I just dollar cost average in them, and I put it in a vault, and then I forget about it. I just don't think about it till it's going crazy. And then I just accumulate more, put it in a vault, pretend it's not even there, and just keep moving on. It's like, oh, price got even cheaper. It's like, cool, let me add more to the vault. If I can, okay, I've got some cash available here. Let me put more in. That's amazing. It's even cheaper. And then I'm just waiting for that time when people are like, oh my gosh, crypto is going crazy. It'll never stop going up. And then you sell into that. Like, that's how simple this game is. If you go about your life doing your day job, trying to make as much as you can from your day job and squeezing your expenses down so you have margin to invest, and you just dollar cost average in on the side into projects when the price is really good, and then you don't worry about it tons. It's like, oh, shoot, it's taking longer than I thought. You just keep moving along in life. That strategy works amazingly well.
Agreed. It is easier for me to, and Rain, I'm sure you see this too. How often do you get messages from people where they said, "Hey, have you heard of this? Hey, have you seen this? Hey, can you talk about this?" How often do you get those messages?
A lot.
How many times a day?
Less than you, because I'm sure on Twitter you get hit up all the time, and I don't spend as much time on Twitter as you do, or X. But yeah, I get messages like that. My friend, wants me to invest in this new crypto. He's like, "Oh, you know about crypto? There's this network marketing crypto company." I'm like, "Yeah, no." "How do you know you haven't even listed?" "Yeah, no." Like, I'm good. "Yeah, but you know crypto." "Exactly. That's not the type of business that I'm looking for."
Yeah. But the reason I brought that up is because you, you have people that have to look and dig to do the research, and that takes some time. But I feel like I feel like a professor at like a college, because I get, I don't want to call them like students, but I get people coming and be like, hey, take a look. Like, I get information coming to me. I don't have to look at anything anymore. I get so much notifications and messages of people like, hey, have you seen this? Can you look at this? And a lot of it is relevant. It's not like, hey, look at this meme coin. Obviously, I get those too, but it's a lot of it's relevant to what I discuss all the time. So I don't have to look at that. And I cut my work down even more by giving Rain a call, like, hey, have you seen this? Does this have any legs? And I feel like I'm one professor at one university calling you as a professor of another university, and we're going over things like, yeah, I've been finding this too. The people that I've been, like, they've noticed this as well. It's like, okay, it's not just me, it's not just this crazy person that. So it's more fun to be in the trenches when you have friends, and especially when you have that flow of information come to you, because not everyone gets that. So I do recognize that some people might feel alone in the dark because they don't have that many people to talk to about it. Like, I live with someone, we talk about this every day and it's fun. And I talk to you every week, but I guess if you're somebody that is like alone and nobody else in your circle knows about crypto or is interested in it, or maybe they're kind of interested in it, but that's really all you want to talk about. Like, I'm for most other people, like in my life, I have to be like, to talk about like the current events, which is fine, like what's going on TikTok, what's going on wherever. Like, I feel like I can make friends with anyone, but this is what I love. And if you're getting into something and you don't love it, if you're not obsessed with it, it might not be for you. It might not work. Like Rain, like were you weren't always interested in crypto? Obviously, it didn't exist, 20 years ago. But when do you think you were like obsessed with it? Like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is for me.
Right away when I found it in 2017, I was obsessed with it. But what I'm passionate about is ways that can make money for me. So I learned you only have so much time in this life. And so there's different ways to get rich. One is leveraging other people's time, leveraging other people's money, leveraging your own money. But a lot of times there's not a way to leverage your own money if you're not starting with millions of dollars and turn it into millions of dollars. Yet crypto offers us this window where you could invest in these early stage businesses and get early stage business returns for those that succeed. And you weren't shut out because of the securities laws, because you weren't an accredited investor. And so the types of returns that you can get here if you're investing smart are amazing. So that was super exciting. Now, you were asking about getting hit up. So in my private Discord, and you have to join my Patreon to then get access to the private Discord. But in the private Discord, we have a lot of discussions there about like some things that come up in some different projects and looking at different projects. So I get a lot of requests by there. But one of the reasons I created that is because, like what you're talking about, it's so helpful to have people to talk about crypto with. But it's only helpful if those people are smarter. Because if you're just talking with your average Joe, you become who you surround yourself with. So it's like I wanted to create a vetted group of people that were like good at this stuff, at least to some degree, so that your sounding board is actually a pretty good sounding board. And we've been able to create that with our Rainmaker private Discord. I'm really happy with that group, and there's some great people in there. And it really helps, because if you're just doing this on your own, you're often so lonely, and it helps to have people that understand investing, buying low and then selling high. Because if you're completely surrounded by people that don't understand that, it's hard to stay strong during times like this. Yeah, iron sharpens iron. Exactly.
Hey, I feel very, very privileged. Like, I know, I also think, and this might be exclusive to us as well, but like some of my best friends in life I've met through crypto. It's just been like no homo. I love you, man. I love spending time with you. I like this. This is awesome. This, like, we get to do this all the time, and it's fun, and it's like good for us. We build out the network, we build out the channels, and that I feel like this is probably the time. Like it was very hard to talk about crypto in 2023, 2024, because it was great to talk about in 21, 22, and then it kind of it got harder because stuff just kept going down, and stuff is down here now. But I feel like can Bitcoin and ETH have another downturn, go down to 35? Sure. A year ago or 6 months ago, I don't know, when we were at 126, I don't think people would think Bitcoin would get down here. So it could always go lower, but even through that, just building up the page and just talking about things. This is one of the things that I think it's not just about the money. Obviously, a lot of things are, but it's just building the relationships, and you have no idea where those relationships could go. I mean, I've had girlfriends from this. I've had other, it's just, and again, you never know who you could meet. Like there's people that I've had on the channel and people that I've met, like I've had really no business meeting, but because we have this YouTube channel, like we get to meet. I mean, we're successful on top of that, but we get to meet all these awesome people, and it's fun.
Yeah, amazing people in the crypto space. And some of these people, in the crypto space are the future, like, multi-billionaires. So it's like, if you could go back in time in 1998 and move to Silicon Valley, or what was going to later be Silicon Valley, would you? And what's funny is a lot of these people you'd end up working with, the owner of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, was overweight, losing his hair, looked like the nerdiest guy you could know. And who knew that he would be, in a number of years, one of the richest people in the world? And it's like, a lot of the people in the crypto space, they're doing something innovative. Real quick, when crypto goes crazy again, they will be some of the highest, most rich people in the world. And you're right in the midst of that. And like, what's funny is, when I lived in this place, I found this computer repairman. And he was really good with computers, and he would fix if something went wrong with my computer and stuff. And he was telling me about his situation. He's like, "Oh, I own my house free and clear." I was like, "What? You own your house free and clear?" He's like, "Oh, yeah. One of my friends I went to college with, I used to help him cheat on his homework. Well, he was co-founder of Twitter. And so when that went huge, he just bought me a house." Like, that's funny. That's funny. But you'll see some of the people in crypto, not that anyone's going to buy you a house, but like, will go and become some of the wealthiest people in the world. And you'll be like, wow, right in the midst of that. Now, do you benefit from that? Well, it depends on the investment you're making and what you're learning, and if you're becoming good at the investing side of this, because you can experience it, be in the middle of it, and none of it means that wealth's going to translate to you if you're not doing the right things.
So another reason why we do this, because we get to talk to people that, when VeVe was just starting out, like, part of the reason it got as big as it did was because of us. But also, again, if the merger goes through and David goes in, listed on NASDAQ, and becomes a huge thing, you have this company be worth $10 billion at some point, or even higher, like hundreds of billions, again, years and years down the line. But starting, as long as that letter of intent goes through and they get listed, one of the only ways anyone in the world is going to be able to talk to David is if you're a licensor of a major brand, or if you're a big shareholder. And when can you talk to him? On the earnings call, 4 times a year. If you're a big shareholder, you can call in. But we can talk, so we can get him on. Or if you have a gold logo, then you can see him a couple times a year. So what happens to the price of gold logos when suddenly you have these, centimillionaires, billionaires, decabillionaires go in, like, wait, I can talk to him whenever I want. All I got to do is just buy a $5,000 gold logo. I'm probably going to go pretty big.
Yeah, it stopped being $5,000 really quick in that environment.
So yeah, that's it's just my opinion, though. We'll see what else happens. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I don't know if the Akomi Secret logo is going to have as much weight behind it, but and then what? I don't know when VeVe gets to this. How much do you think their assets are worth? Like, because they have 1 through 39 partner statue, they have 1 through 39 most things. Like that's on their balance sheet. That's on their asset. What is that worth? That's got to be worth an insane amount.
Well, the value now is actually probably pretty dang good. If they were actually to sell some of those, they'd get a pretty good valuation if they sold them slowly.
Yeah.
But imagine in a crypto market when prices go crazy and digital collectibles go crazy. And then, so the value now is nowhere near what it's going to be when digital collectibles become such a big thing. And what I love about VeVe, like, so there's this predictability problem in crypto. It's like predicting which things will be successful. In meme coins, you are taking a crap shot. Like, yeah, if you're a big influencer and you have 1 million Twitter followers and you want to get involved with trying to pump things and then dumping on your audience, which I don't agree with at all. Sure, you can monetize that in a kind of deceitful way. Maybe you could just be completely transparent with them. It's like, well, I will dump on you. And maybe it could still go well for you. But meme coins, the predictability pattern of which out of the 10 million meme coins launch, which ones are going to become like the next big thing. It's hard to tell. Even with NFTs back in 2021, there were a ton of NFT projects and most failed and didn't become anything sustainable. Bored Ape Yacht Club came out of that. A few others did really, really good. Moonbirds and a few others that did well. But like VeVe's kind of predictable in that it's got massive IP and licenses that already have huge collector bases for things. So physical comics have huge collector bases. People pay a lot of money. So I don't know. I'm extending that to think, well, digital comics will likely, as people get used to collecting digital things, those digital comics will do well. The digital collectibles will do well. And you have some of the biggest brands in the world. And so I feel like the risk of it not succeeding is much, much lower than XYZ random NFT project that's selling 10,000 of it, blah, blah, blah. Because even in that time frame of March of 2021, like 10,000 different NFT projects launched and like 5 became a really big deal. And so I just like the probabilities of VeVe versus a lot of things in the crypto space.
Agreed. I think there's a really big opportunity with some of that opportunity's dried up with the special mints because you've had people like Comics and Crypto and some of the big whales buy those special mints and a lot of those are
special mint hunters. Yeah.
But I still think there's okay. Well, if you can't get the special mint, I mean, there's still value in other ones. First appearance, Sam Wilson is wearing the Cap America suit, $2.
I just like the floor commons. Not getting the special mints because the special mints will be slower to sell, and they are much more of a flex. And if flexes are your thing, cool. And you may get a higher ROI in those. It's hard to tell. But you're going to get an amazing ROI just on the common things that people really want down the road. So it's trying to decide what things are people really going to fight over down the road. There's some speculation on what that's going to be. And sometimes you'll be right. Sometimes you'll be wrong. But even when you're wrong, you'll probably get multiples above where the price are at now. But when you're right, the multiples are incredible. Now, let's rewind time because you asked a really good question. Am I tripping or is it the market that the first appearance of Sam Wilson and he's wearing the Captain America suit is like $2? Like, what the F? So NBA Top Shots, October of 2020. Like, I find out NBA Top Shots is out and I'm like, oh, this is a really cool thing. Never actually seen video moments before, though. Like, is the market going to adopt these? And obviously, it's the NBA license, and that's a really big deal. And so I don't know that much about basketball. I really haven't followed it since Michael Jordan. So I'm like, I know LeBron James is a big player. So I look at LeBron James's on the markets, and I buy this rare for like $58. So I'm like, you know what? I think I checked the next month and like the floor was even cheaper. And then I kind of forgot about it. March of 2021, NBA Top Shots go crazy. And that thing is trading at above $20,000. So from $58 to $20,000. And it's just like, holy cow. Now, has it corrected back downwards? Yeah, it's now back down to like $300. It's like, okay, cool. But it will have a run again. And down the road, see, what I like about things like that, that was like Series 1. So that was the first season that they had in NBA Top Shots. And so some of those season ones of LeBron James, really good value down the road, especially as millions of people start collecting NBA moments. That'll do well. When millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions start collecting Marvel stuff and DC stuff and other things, VeVe is going to be the app for that. And some of these early appearances that there's 1,000 of or 5,000 of or 8,000 of, and you have millions of people that want to have it, well, that's where the prices go bonkers.
There's yeah, first appearance Green Goblin. Like the reason he asked me the other day, like, do you ever see it reaching $50? I was like, listen, that there's 50,000 of those common, not just like there's 50,000 in the whole mint run. There happens to be 70,000 of those that were minted. 50,000 of them are commons, and it's like that's just seems like an insane amount to go to $50,000 or just to $50 because there's 50,000 of them. Then it's like, well, some of that stuff is minted in Pokemon cards, and those things are like hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Even the ones that are graded like PSA 10, it's like I'm assuming, or I had assumed that the users we had now would never get it to $50, and I feel like I'm correct in that. The users we have now, we would never get that to $50.
Yeah.
But you know, if we have
the users we have now.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 10,000 users, you know, then that's very possible that does go to 50, and that's just 10,000 users.
Yeah,
I mean,
10,000 daily users is a metric.
Yeah,
because right now we're at just under 1,000 daily users, sometimes over 1,000. So that'd be 10 times the actual activity. But when the market goes crazy, you'll see like 100,000 active daily users. So you'll have 100 times the kind of metrics we're seeing right now. Just that's how bull runs work. And then it'll fall off during the bear market that follows to maybe 5 or 10,000. But in that environment, when 100 times the active daily users comes in, that's what we're going to look at. I think Green Goblin first appearance would go over $50. We saw Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man #1. There's like 70,000 editions of that, and it went to a couple $100. Marvel Comics #1 went to like $700, $800.
That was insane.
A lot of those.
Yeah.
I was selling them at those prices. I was like, oh my gosh. And I'd been picking them up at $2 or $3.
Yeah.
Like,
God.
Just the common floor ones. I'd just go on and clean up the floor, and then shoot, the cheapest ones at $4. I'll wait. And then the next day, you know, back to $3 or $2, and I buy some more. And I forgot to sweep in the floor.
Yeah. Now, I mean, there are, and people should be careful, because like, just because it's on VeVe doesn't mean it's like a great, well, like there's a Fallen Sun, The Death of Captain America. There's like 6 of those comics, and they all have like, you know, 20,000 common editions. And it's like, oh, well, you can get them for 50 cents. A lot of times there's reasons why you can get them for 50 cents. Now, granted, I bought a bunch of first appearance, like Hawkeyes recently, for like 70 cents. Like there are some that are first appearances that's like, yeah, this should not be 70 cents. And I'm not saying that first appearance Hawkeye, you know, ever gets to $20, even though he might. But buying it at 70 cents and it going to $5 is probably not that crazy. now at that point it's like, well, Charles, why wouldn't you just get Omi? Like you can do that too, but this is just fun. Like it's fun. It was fun doing it with Pokemon cards. It's fun doing it with this. It's like, we were talking about Green Goblin. Like, well, yeah, it's $2 for the 50,000 of the commons, but it was like less than $4 for the rares. So I picked up a couple of the rares. You know, if the common goes to 50, even if, because it's a really cool cover, what does the rare go to? Even if it doesn't go there, and you know it goes to like $30. Okay, I bought it for like 3. So I mean, yeah, there's tons of opportunities everywhere. Maybe Rain, not sure I would make without you guys. Oh, I love you, Kuma. Can't wait to see you again soon. We'll reach out. Anyway, Rain, what do you got before we go and talk off air?
Well, look, this is peak FUD. Fear and greed index has been really, really low. That's the time a lot of people wash out. If you literally just, I mean, if somebody wants like a pro tip on buying, wait till the fear and greed index is below 12 and then load up. It's hard to do that, and it's hard to keep all that powder dry and sit there and like, but that's when buy time is. That's definitely not sell time. And yet some people are cashing out and selling in this, and they're just scared. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not here to tell people what to do. I do tell people what I'm doing, and I'm telling people what I feel probabilities are of what works and what's successful, and what I've seen, not only myself to make millions of dollars in 2021, but other people that I know that made millions of dollars in 2021, what they did in 2018, 2019, and 2020. It's just an approach that I think works better than anything else out there, and it's simpler in many forms. But just because it's simple, you're seeing it's not easy. It's not easy to stay strong when things are like this. It's not easy to then load the boats even more when prices feel like they just keep going down. You'll see at some point they reverse and they go massively up. And when they do, you'll see that, man, the 6 weeks time when the full bull run is here, that parabolic move can take things up 100x, 200x up, and you'll be blown away. And then you'll say, shoot, why didn't I do more?
Stay healthy. Don't take vacations. Don't go to places without internet for more than like a day at a time. The other, yeah, about staying in, like yesterday, why I started buying a bunch of these comics. There was this guy on Facebook. He's like, hey, listen, I have a bunch of these that I'm looking to sell, whatever. And they had good stuff. And it's just, you know, why he had been a big supporter for a long time. He hadn't had a job for X amount of months. He's like, I held on as long as I could. I got to sell now. And not that you should go in and be like, try to talk him down. Be like, oh, well, you know, if you're already selling at a discounted price, but if you sell it down this low, like you shouldn't do that. But if sometimes that high hanging fruit becomes low hanging fruit, and someone that you would have thought would have never sold, and you can get some of these things, and he's telling you like, hey, I'm going to sell it at these. Again, that's how I got some of these things for like under $1. It's like crazy cheap. First Appearance Jubilee and stuff like that. Like, you know, so it can pay to be vigilant. It can pay to hang out sometimes on Facebook or on eBay, depending on what you're into. And as long as you have the capital and you're available to do it, be advised, buying 300 comics one by one on Stacker was not fun. I hope they have that thing eventually. It's like, okay, buy the whole collection or buy 20 of these at once, because that was...
Put in buy orders. If any of these drop below $2, buy.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be best. That would be great, because yeah, that was fun. Anyway, everyone, thank you all for coming. This was great. We will try to have Doc here next week. I know y'all miss him. Miss him too. He's our bae. And everyone say goodbye to Dashi. Goodbye, Dashi. We love you.
Love you guys.
All right.